Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Monday morning edition of the PHLY Eagles Podcast. Bo Wolf, Zach Berman here. Zach, we've got a full week of morning shows. You must be on top of the world.
This is awesome, right? Well, I wouldn't say this is morning. This is close to noon.
All 5 shows this week are before noon. I mean,
speaking my language right now. I like it.
How you feeling? You feel
great, energized, excited for the week.
Here we go.
Week 2 here. Week 3 in the NFL. Eagles, Bucs next Monday. Had a chance to dig in, watch a lot of football yesterday, and more football tonight.
In between your undescribed family time that you had, right?
Spent a lot of good time with the family, but also watched a lot of football yesterday. And
you're a football guy.
Yeah, got to do advanced work on the Bucs, which is good. So I don't have to spend Tuesday night watching the Bucs.
Yeah,
now.
what are your if you're doing like the advanced work? What are the tendencies that you found out? What are you putting on Nick Sirianni's desk this morning?
The Bears aren't very good. That's what I'll tell him. The Bears aren't very good.
And he's gonna be looking for a new quality control coach.
Yeah, defend Mike Evans.
Okay.
That defense swarms.
Okay,
they get after you there. Probably don't throw a screen pass when you're backed up. Inside the 5 or so. Yeah, those are a few quick notes off the top of my head.
Those will be very helpful to him, I'm sure.
Oh, I can imagine.
Okay, well, we're going to have a chance to talk to Nick Sirianni after this show for his Monday morning press conference. Maybe you can relay those messages to him, but we've got plenty to get to on this show. We are going to talk about the Avante Maddox news, unpack that a little bit. Eagles might have a new punter. We can talk about that. Had a chance to watch the All-22, so we'll talk about some offense and defense takeaways. You know, the football truism that it's never as good or as bad as you think live. I think that might be true in this case. And then maybe at the end we'll talk a little bit about Jalen Hurts at Time Magazine. So plenty to do there. But Zach, what is the news this Monday morning for the Eagles?
Yes, so late Friday afternoon, I found out Eagles cornerback Avante Maddox. After the show, we learned the initial diagnosis is a torn pectoral. That's according to a league source. It would be a season-ending injury. They were waiting for the results of a second opinion. On Friday, I believe NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reported today that he's undergoing surgery. So that would indicate this is going to be the type of injury that will keep him out for the season. Maddox, 27. Is
it definitely season-ending?
Well, they say indefinite, but my understanding is that if the torn pectoral diagnosis was confirmed, they expect it to be a season-ending injury.
Okay.
Now he was limited to 9 games last season because of different injuries, and as we discussed on the show last week, the Eagles lost Zach McPherson during the preseason opener, who was supposed to be their top slot backup this year. And that leaves Mario Goodrich as the top internal option. And there's some other options that we can get to as well.
Yeah, we'll get to what the Eagles do next in a minute. But I want to talk about Avante for a second. As you mentioned, this is year 6. He has played 1 full season in those 6 years. 13 games, 12 games, 10 games, 16 games, 9 last year, 2 this year, if this is indeed the end for him. He is a very good player when he's on the field, yes. Right? He got that ball out, forced that fumble on the Vikings' second drive. I didn't notice this live, and it popped to me watching that he was the safety. We talked about this when they were in base against the Vikings in their 5-2 base defense. He was the safety. We've always talked about, can Avante play safety? Will they press that button? They pressed it right away. They went right to it with a new defensive coordinator. He's very reliable when he's on the field, but he cannot stay on the field right now. Yeah. And you feel for him because he is, one of the most good energy guys in the locker room. Everybody loves him, but the truth is, right now, his contract, he's 27 years old. He's played 1 full season. The contract is structured such that if they were going to move on from him, it would probably be a post-June 1 release. It would be $7.5 million of savings if they did that, $2.5 million of dead money. There's also the possibility, maybe the likelihood, that they could restructure his contract, which would save, according to Over the Cap, about $4.5 million. 0 to 100 turkeys, Zach. How many turkeys do you think you would put on Avante Maddox on the 2024 Eagles?
63, But
Very specific. I like that.
But-
Usually you're on the round numbers.
yeah,
So good for you.
I'm trying to evolve.
Yeah.
But I would say if he's back, it's not under the same contract structure for the reasons you mentioned.
Yeah, no chance, basically.
He hasn't been able to stay healthy. I thought you put it well. When he's on the field, he's been a key player for this team. There's a reason why they signed him to a contract extension during the 2021 season. They identified him as someone who they thought could be a core player going forward.
But we did
from the
talk
slot
about it
position.
at the time that of that group of guys who they signed, he was the one where the deal itself was the most chancy. Like
Chancy
Dallas,
in what way?
because you were paying top of the market for a nickel corner
Yeah.
at a position where there is a lot of year-to-year variability
Yep.
always, and even then he had not had a proven ability to stay healthy.
Yeah.
So with Jordan Mailata, you were buying low on this guy who had potential like rocket ship to the moon upside. With Dallas Goedert, you were buying he's going to be the full-time tight end. With your boy Josh Sweat, you were buying the upside.
Yeah.
With Avante Maddox, you were sort of paying the top of the market for a guy who might just
Yes.
plateau, and it was also sort of part of like the storytelling
The thematic
of
part,
like
yeah.
okay, we've got this core group. It was the iffiest of those signings, which is not to say that it was a bad deal, and maybe it was designed to be restructured. But I do think that like there's no chance he's back on that number.
Yeah, and I hear what you're saying. He had the lowest ceiling of those guys that they kept, but he did have a significant role on the team.
Sure.
The Eagles view slot cornerback. I mean, we're not doing the show in 2012, right? It's a starting position in the NFL. Number one, but number two, you see kind of in their actions, the Eagles have a dedicated slot cornerback coach this year, nickel cornerback coach, a Chester native, Ronnell Williams. And in talking to Sean Desai and talking to Nick Sirianni, one thing they say about it is that's a specialized position that needs specialized training. And so the Eagles, I know this from our work at the time in 2021 when they signed Maddox to that deal, they viewed him as a top of the league slot cornerback at a position that I don't want to say it's hard to fill because you can find slot cornerbacks day 3 in the draft. But like you said, there's variance to that position. So they thought this was a consistent player who kind of embodied personality-wise where they were going as a team. You mentioned it there that he's a popular player, an energy player. In that draft in 2018, he's someone that the Eagles really targeted because they thought that he kind of fit those characteristics that they're looking for, almost like Sidney Brown this past year. That said, you got to stay healthy, and he hasn't been able to consistently stay healthy. Some of these injuries have been, freak injuries. The one in Green Bay in 2019, that's not like a muscle pull or something like that. But these accumulating injuries, and you saw it last year in particular with the foot, and the fact that this happens now week 2, it is something that the Eagles need to think about, especially because slot cornerback is a position, if you evaluate it correctly, you can get someone on a rookie contract in the 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round to fill that role. And
it's part of the reason why the Eagles carried 7 corners on the 53-man roster, because not just Avante Maddox, but obviously Darius Slay and James Bradbury are both over 30. You have to think long-term about what your replacement plan for those guys is. Now, all of a sudden, you have to think, are we going to have to replace all 3 sooner than later? And that might be the case. And obviously, we're going to get a good look at what their internal options are over the course of the rest of the season here. We can talk about in a little bit how Mario Goodrich fared, but you feel bad for Avante Maddox, but it does seem like this is the end of that particular part of the era for him.
I would say so. I'd say getting injured 2 games into the season, a year after he was limited to 9 games. Yeah, that I don't want to say the writing's on the wall, but it's not looking good.
Now the Eagles also potentially making a transaction here today.
Yeah, what do you have there?
Tell me about that.
According to Adam Kaplan, the Eagles are signing Braden Mann to the practice squad, and this is notable because Aaron Sitbos is on the Eagles practice squad. He has 1 elevation left. You're allowed to be elevated 3 times before you, there's certain ways around that. But if the Eagles are playing this practice squad roulette, if you will, Braden Mann is someone that they've looked at in the past. He was with the Jets. He was with the Steelers. He was a drafted punter Okay.
6th round pick.
Sixth round pick. Texas A&M, correct?
Texas, I think.
I think he might be an A&M guy.
Okay.
Well, we'll have to look that up.
Okay. Well, I thought you were gonna lead with the fact that he won an award in college. That's like your favorite thing in the world.
Is that that's not my favorite thing in the world, but certainly
it's close.
Yeah.
It's like your family, cookies, guys who have won awards in college.
That's a strong. I think number 2 is pretty high up there. Number 1 and number 2, yeah. But I think the award winners are a little lower. But it is something, when you're giving the elevator pitch on a player. You give 30 seconds on a player. Oh, they're interested in so.
Yeah, but you don't use it as like a biographical nugget. You use it as like proof of why he's good.
Like so and so won the Blinkoff Award. So
right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. A 6th round pick in 2020. 5 picks before the Eagles took Sean Bradley. 6 before, of course, John Pinacini was drafted by the Detroit Lions.
Of course, dynamite dropping.
Braden Mann, according to our friends, the punt runts, the puntalytics guys, last year with the Jets, he was like 24th in the league, which was 3 spots behind Aaron Siposs. But through the first 2 weeks, a small sample size, Aaron Siposs has been one of the worst punters in the league, according to the puntalytics, 28th of 32. I think there's a chance. I think it's probably likely that this guy's the new punter.
And he's younger.
Yeah.
He's someone who I imagine they're not going to keep a punter on the practice squad throughout. At some point, they're going to have one on the 53.
It'd be kind of fun to just do that. Just cycle through.
Yeah,
why not? 3 guys each.
That's true. It makes sense. We've been talking about punter now for months. Braden Mann's a name we discussed in the spring because of
right. He lost that Steelers battle. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the Jets did waive him earlier in the offseason. So, yeah, I have no objection to this move. I don't think Siposs has particularly fared well, as you pointed out. The holding operation is something that I point to, but as you've said,
it doesn't everybody can do it. There's no punter in the NFL who can't hold.
Yeah, I mean, what's the anecdote you gave last year when they made the change?
Yeah, what was the name of the guy they signed?
You know who they signed?
I can't remember. Brett Kern. Yeah, yes. Brett Kern is asked about it. He's like, and it's every time you add a punter, it's like, how long? You got the punting to worry about, but how long is it going to take to get used to the? He's like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I'll go do it right now, and it's going to be very easy. I've been doing it my whole life. Yeah. It's the exact same.
So Jake Elliott has been terrific this year. He has that symbiosis, if you will, with Aaron Siposs, but
I guess I will.
Yeah, Braden Mann's done this. Braden Mann can do it. Braden Mann, I assume, will do it.
Will he be the man?
With 2 ends. Yes.
Yeah, okay. What did you make of the undefeated Sunday for the NFC East, rather?
Tough one for Jonathan Gannon. I thought at halftime...
Yeah, your family must have had to console you. I mean...
At halftime of that game, I thought we'd be coming in here and you'd be talking about the plucky Jonathan Gannons knocking off...
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't have been the case anyway.
Knocking off your boy, the Giant, your boys, the Giants.
Yeah, this was Berman Bowl.
Didn't you have the Giants over this year?
I don't think I did have I had the Commanders over.
Oh, okay, that's what it was. And the Commanders are 2-0.
In part because I thought the Giants were going to be very bad.
Yeah. Not particularly impressed with the Giants, got to say that. Not impressed with the Cardinals. Not impressed with the Cardinals' second half defense. I thought the Cardinals did enough to win that game. I don't know how you...
it has been pointed out that I am not the first one to say this, but yes, I think it's fair to say that Jonathan Gannon likes giving up points in the second half in that stadium. It's like what he lives by.
I haven't seen that yet.
Okay.
Okay. So I make of this. Here, let's start with the headline. Okay, that's the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are the headline. The Cowboys are really good, and we've been saying this all along that I thought they were the biggest threat for the Super Bowl for the Eagles. The Niners are up there, but I like the Cowboys more. I'm putting on the same evaluation that I gave to Nick Sirianni about the Bucs.
Okay.
Micah Parsons.
Oh man, what a player!
Jeez, yes. It's like if Nick says, "What'd you make of the Cowboys?"
Right.
You got to figure out how to block that Micah Parsons guy.
Thanks, thanks, Zach.
Yeah, seriously, he's going to add me to the staff by the end of the show.
You think he's watching?
Let's see. He's got a press conference in exactly an hour, so maybe
probably so.
Yeah, trying to do some advanced scouting. I thought the Cowboys just overall, I mean, Parsons is a game wrecker. We know that, but they can hurt you in so many different ways. Offensively, they're deep defensively. They're really athletic. They are not hurting themselves this year. This is back-to-back weeks, so the Eagles don't have to think about the Cowboys for a few months. But winning the division is going to be really difficult because the Cowboys are up there as an elite team.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we agreed before the season that they were maybe the biggest competition in the entire conference. But that said, they've played Zach Wilson and Daniel Jones. I'm not willing to throw them a parade just yet. Let's see what happens.
True.
Okay. You want to tell me about DraftKings? You make any bets this weekend, Zach?
Well, I was on DraftKings, and let me pull this up here because we're back with another week of football. And DraftKings Sportsbook is keeping us in on the NFL action with great offers every single game day. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Throw 5 down on any of this week's epic matchups to walk away an instant winner. And DraftKings is not stopping there. All customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every game day this September. So there are 2 games on tonight. Make sure you check that out. You got the Saints playing. You can see the Panthers. So check that out. Football is more fun when you're in on the action. So download the app now and sign up with code PHLY. New customers can bet just $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL with code PHLY. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY. That's 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 1-888-789-777. or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, licensee partner Golden Nugget, Lake Charles, 21 plus. Age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football. Terms for eligibility, terms and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply.
Nice job.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk about the offense after having crunched the film like the football guys we are, Zach. The big question to me when I was watching was, how much of what I perceived from watching live as like Jalen Hurts really struggling back there was indeed the case. Versus, what things did he not have control of? What might have been offensive design? I would recommend watching the JT O'Sullivan QB School of the Performance on YouTube. That was good. Fran Duffy also has a good piece on PhiladelphiaEagles.com, which you should read. And it is true that watching it made me feel a little bit better. It was not as bad as I thought. There were a few. I think there are some concerning things. Let's start with the good. He made a couple of really nice plays. In like the AJ Brown touchdown that was called back on the Rashad Penny hold was an unbelievable play by Hurts to get away from pressure and then throw that ball while he's running to his right. The next play, the one that just is off of AJ Brown's fingertips, the way he climbs the pocket there, I loved that play. That was great. And in a game when it seemed like maybe he was a little bit too frenetic, the way that he was, calm in the pocket and climbed there, and I thought it was a good throw. There's probably a case for ticky-tack holding there. What?
Ticky-tack holding. I like that.
It wasn't egregious, but I thought there was a case for a flag,
like the Aiden Hutchinson one in that Seattle-Detroit game.
Yeah, that was not that. Like, don't cry me a river on that one. Like, not a big deal.
A lot of Detroit fans are crying a river for that.
Like one. A lot of that goes uncalled all the time. That was totally fine.
Feel Lake Ontario right now with that.
And I didn't think he made many bad throws. Like when he made the right, I counted one bad throw. That second drive, he misses Dallas Goedert open along the right sideline. In terms of like things he's not reading or seeing, I sort of lean a little bit more towards offensive design than Hurts himself. Now there were several plays where it seemed like Hurts himself. Aside from the throws, which we can get to, but like a couple of those reads when it looks like he should give to DeAndre Swift, in the ever evolving conversation we have about how much should Jalen Hurts be running, like, let's give the tie to the running back, Jalen. Okay, like unless you know that you are wide open, just give the ball, right?
Okay.
Like, can we agree about that?
I mean,
You just want him to want to be the guy who wants the ball.
You're reading the defense, okay? So
So if he has a
get
bad read, then that's just
I
that.
have more of an issue with him running into sacks. That's that.
Well, I
that
think
jumps out
that's
to me.
I think the worst plays of this game were, and it's funny because they came after what I thought were two of his best plays, those A.J. Brown throws, were those 2 sacks he took.
Yeah.
They're both against 3-man rushes.
Yeah.
When the Vikings add an extra guy eventually. The first one, okay, it's like a 2-yard sack, you stay alive. That 3rd down sack, to take a 12-yard sack there after you just took a sack to take you out of field goal range when you have all kinds of time in the pocket. And on both of those plays, there were guys who he could have thrown the ball to. The first one, Devontae Smith is wide open. The second one, it's like he could throw it to Goddard quickly, but you got to know, like, your internal clock, and you, like, after having just taken the sack, you got to know, like, I cannot take a sack here in a close game at that point. Like, that's a rookie mistake.
Yes, I agree with you there. The plays, when I say run into sacks, I didn't have a problem with him running. I thought that the sacks that he took were not sacks where it's like the pressure was overwhelming him. They were plays when he ran into the sacks, right? Like you mentioned there. He could have gotten rid of the ball. I have more of an issue with those specific plays than when he's holding it on the RPOs.
Yeah, I mean, mostly that's fine. Yeah, but also, like, if DeAndre Swift has a wide open hole, just give him the ball.
Sure. And also the play design can be just to hand it off to DeAndre Swift too, right? Now, what jumped out to me in addition to watching the game is when you look at the numbers. Jalen Hurts against the blitz in week 1, 4 of 9 for 31 yards. In week 2, 9 of 12 for 154 yards and a touchdown. Now, the numbers are inflated there because of the deep touchdown.
And the first one to
exactly.
Devontae, right? Yeah.
But still, he's completing 9 of 12 there. And then the other thing, when you see the coverages, I'm curious if you think this is simply the byproduct of playing 2 like-minded defenses, or if it's kind of teams spending the whole offseason watching Hurts. They saw more cover 6 in these past 2 games than any time in Hurts' career combined. 14 in week 1, 14 snaps in week 1, or 14 pass attempts, I should say. 15 in week 2. So that is that's a high number, and they haven't seen that. The last time they saw it near that high, I think, was 10 snaps against the Bucs, not during the playoffs, but when they played them. It was a Thursday night, it was a primetime game against the Bucs in 2021. But I think that this is something to watch going forward. When teams have cover 6, they're obviously trying to take away the deep ball, which is something Jalen Hurts referred to after the game when he said teams spent the offseason watching the Eagles and they don't want A.J. Brown running by them or Devontae Smith running by them. Now, of course, Devontae Smith ran by them twice. You mentioned Fran Duffy did a really good job breaking down how the Eagles were responding to the blitz and taking advantage of going deep there. But it is something to watch in terms of the way defenses are responding to Jalen Hurts. And we'll talk to Brian Baldinger later this week, I think tomorrow, where we can get some more insight on that as well.
Also, the interception was really bad. He's just staring down Devontae Smith that whole route, and the linebacker makes a nice play dropping back, but I also thought the safety could have picked it off too. And then there's the one when he's rolling left, he misses Jack Stoll wide open. There were a couple tough plays. I think that
that chemistry is not what it once was.
Maybe there's something going on in the trust level with Jack Stoll. I don't necessarily view it as like the book is out on Jalen Hurts. I think you have to give some credit to the opposing defenses, but I do think that if you're going to be seeing like take away the deep ball type defenses, then you got to be willing to take what's there. And it seemed like there were times when he was just not fully taking that and hoping for something else and maybe not seeing the fuller picture.
Yeah.
And those are the times when he's sitting there and it's a 3-man rush should not be creating pressure on you.
You're absolutely right. And you shouldn't be sacked against a 3-man rush, right? Unless there's, a a blown blocking assignment, which I didn't think there was.
One thing I will say is I saw that there was an unnamed website that graded Jordan Mailata as like the best performance by an offensive lineman of the past decade or whatever. I'm not saying that's something that's created just for content's sake. And, as someone who we have to do a show 5 days a week, you got to create content. But I am saying that if you were incentivized to just create content, you might say something like a guy who had a pretty good game, but not like the best game I've ever seen, had the best offensive lineman game of the past decade. He's given up some pressures. Like, he's a beast in the run game, but it was not like, I didn't watch that film. I was like, oh my God, send Jordan Mailata to Canton.
Yeah, I thought he did a really good job in the run game.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't necessarily look at that game and say that's the best left tackle.
He gave up some pressures in pass protection. That's fine. Yeah. He was good. We don't have to throw him a parade. Yeah.
Well, he's a good player.
Now, here's my other question for you, Zach, and I want to throw this hypothetical at you.
I like hypotheticals.
So, the offensive game plan in this game, it was so bad in those first couple drives, right? Aside from the deep completion to Devontae Smith. But, you just look at it, those first 4 drives, 3/4 of a point per drive versus 4.5 points per drive the rest of the game, right? And it all changes when they flip to that 5th drive, like, okay, we can just kill this team up front, let's run the ball. So if it is that the bad part of the game plan was the stuff that they put in during the week and had planned ahead of time, and it's these low upside throws to the outside, just stretching things horizontally. The first time they get in the red zone after the first completion to Devontae Smith, it's like a terrible sequence there where you have the read option on 3rd and goal from the 7, and that first play is a quick throw to AJ Brown. What if it's the opposite of our read, and that those are the Nick Sirianni plays, and then once you get into the flow of the game, it's the offensive coordinator who's then turned the page to the running game?
I don't know if that's the case, but
there's no way we'll ever know, right? But everybody's so quick to pin this on Brian Johnson. Sure. He's the new offensive coordinator. He's the new variable. Yeah. Why does the offense come out looking so
rusty?
That's
true. And look,
but those are the opening script that's the thing that's worked on with Nick Sirianni, right?
That's a great point. And you might be right. And by the way, I think being able to adjust to what the team's doing, what the defense is doing, in my view, and there might be coaches who disagree, but in my view, that's more important.
Sure, I agree.
Than what your opening script is and kind of what your game plan is going forward. It's the adage, what do you do when you get punched in the mouth, right? Like, all right, this is the way they're playing you. This is their move. What's your counter move? And I do think an opening script is important, and you want to get ahead, and you're doing a lot of things early in the game to kind of see the way they're playing you, right? You're getting them in different looks. But how many times have fans in the city complained about an offensive coordinator who did not adjust? And here's someone, I thought Brian Johnson did a good job adjusting. Jason Kelsey said it after the game. It can be kind of boring sometimes. Inside zone. If it's working and you stick to it, there's something to it. It kind of reminds me of the Thursday night game in Green Bay in 2019 when there was kind of this maybe impulse to pass, but Green Bay couldn't stop them on the ground, and that helped the Eagles go up to Lambeau and pull off the upset.
Classic game we all remember.
Yeah. Also a game where we went straight from the post-game pod to the airport.
In the rain, in the rented pickup truck, I think it was, after you took a nice little nap on the drive over, which Emily gives you endless amount of grief for.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever eaten a breakfast that big in my life.
Well.
Was there a milkshake involved, or was
there? With you there typically is.
Yes. Yeah, that was... Madison, Wisconsin beat me. Madison 1 and Zach 0. Yeah,
that was fun. All right, my next question or comparison that I want to ask you about. You watch this game and Dallas Goedert is just doing work in the running game, right? I mean, and that is his job, and he's killing it. JT O'Sullivan has a good clip of at the end of the game where
gassing up JT today.
Yeah, it's great stuff. What am I going to tell you about how Dallas Goedert does this, the accidental run into the cornerback to clear a little room for AJ Brown, and you contradict that with AJ Brown complaining on the sidelines and not running full speed routes when you're watching the tape and not doing his job as a blocker sometimes, and you've got these two guys who both want the ball. And you just look at how they're acting on the field, and I'm not saying this to be like AJ Brown needs to try harder or whatever. AJ Brown is still, arguably the best player on the entire team. That's true, but everybody else on the team is watching the film too, and I just think that it stands out how one guy's acting versus the other guy's acting.
Okay,
I don't know.
Look, I'm not no-selling you here, right? I get what you're saying, and Goddard was a beast in the run game. I thought too that in New England, Goddard wasn't particularly enthused that the ball wasn't coming his way.
That's absolutely true.
Number one, and number, I don't have as much of an issue with the AJ thing. I said it on Friday's show, and I stand by it. Now you want to see effort on the field, but as far as the sideline stuff, I think healthy disagreement's good. I have no issue with a wide receiver and a quarterback going at it. I have
much less issue with the sideline stuff than the on the field stuff.
Okay, yeah. Now, did you think he was disengaged on the field?
Occasionally, it looked that way to me. Then he also, then he goes and makes a nice play on the would-be touchdown and almost scores again. But yeah, I just. It is a thing that is not going away. That's all.
Okay. Yeah, I think you can have Matt Collins, who's out there aligning right, assigning right, doing everything right.
Yeah, I'm not saying I want somebody else.
Yeah,
I'm just it's not going away.
Okay.
It's going to be a storyline as long as they're all here.
You need to get AJ Brown touches. He's that good.
I agree.
Shane Steichen used to write down 18 and 6. I'm sorry, 11 and 6. It'd be weird if he wrote 18. 11 and 6 on his play sheet. 88. Figure out a way to get these guys the ball. I remember Frank Reich in 2017 saying he had certain 17 plays, Alshon plays, right? Get Alshon the ball. And I think that's how you need to be. I'm on Team AJ in this one. Get it. Good things happen when AJ Brown gets the ball.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but I don't know. A little maturity is not the worst thing in the world.
Okay, I'm not conflating competitiveness with immaturity, though.
Yeah, that's fair. Last thing I wanted to say on the offense, just to check in on something that we haven't really talked about since the summer, is that I think Cam Jurgens is doing solid. Mm-hmm. He's not perfect, but I think it has not been a problem area for them so far.
Are you seeing the athleticism at play?
A little bit.
Okay.
A little bit. And they're going to have a much more difficult test on Monday night against Vita Vea and that Bucs front, but and especially in terms of size mismatch, that would be difficult for him. But I think he's holding up okay so far.
Yeah, the Vikings are not particularly big inside.
No, not at all.
And they once were. They once had Linval in there.
They once had Linval. They once had the Williams brothers. Yes. All good stuff. All right, Zach. Let's talk about game time now. And I know that you have had your issues in the past showing up to National League playoff games and hoping that you would just get in and
not hoping, but okay. Yeah.
It seemed like your game plan was basically just hoping, and it didn't work out. But that's okay. Because next time you're going to use Game Time.
Absolutely.
Zach. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. They've got flash deals and last-minute tickets. Easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. You get those images of the seat views, lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and all that good stuff. Game Time is the place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. For comedy fans like Zach Berman, Game Time comes in handy. So snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHLY for $20 off. You want to know my biggest takeaway from defense, Zach?
Let's hear.
I didn't think Mario Goodrich was that bad.
Well, you're a big Mario Goodrich guy now, huh?
No, I mean, he loses one-on-one to Justin Jefferson, but of course he does. He should, right? Mm-hmm. That's a good job by the Vikings to scheme up that matchup, right? Other than that, he was okay. I didn't see, I saw one or two what looked like maybe missed assignments. He was okay in run support. I thought that Josh Jobe was maybe a slightly bigger problem than Mario Goodrich. Now,
so you're not of the
way,
play Bradbury inside Jobe?
Now, I don't know if... I think that could be the thing that they do. I think they probably still have more faith in Josh Jobe than they do in Mario Goodrich. But I would imagine, even if they didn't think that Mario Goodrich played a great game, you're not going to... This guy made the roster on the strength of his performance in the summer as the backup nickel. He gets thrown into the mix. If you thought that highly of him after training camp, you're going to give him 1 full week of actually, preparing to be the starting nickel, I think. Now, they could go Bradbury inside and Jobe on the outside. I think we could see a little bit of both. What's sort of your expectation?
I'm expecting to see Goodrich out there. Now, I think the Bradbury in the slot component is more matchup specific. I think that's the way the team was viewing it. When you play the Giants twice, if they have Darren Waller there, or you play the Chiefs and they have Travis Kelce there, it makes sense then. And now, if the Bucs are using Chris Godwin in that role, that's a tough matchup. But I just think from a body type perspective, you're not viewing Bradbury as your slot option here. I do think you'll see Goodrich in there. Goodrich is somebody who was with the team last year on the practice squad, that they do like him in that role. Now, he was, I thought early in camp, putting up a fight with Zach McPherson.
Yes.
There. I think I would still look externally. But as far as the internal options, Goodrich is clearly the
externally
top.
How? A trade?
No, I mean I think you can find a veteran nickel. I think nickel's a spot.
A guy who's on the street right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say a name where you're going to say, Zach, you are so into this Philadelphia storyline, and so
Jeez.
Okay.
Are you going to go strap on me?
No, Logan Ryan.
Who is like... He's a Philadelphia guy because he was a founding father with Benjamin Franklin. That's how old he is?
He's from South Jersey. Okay, yeah. I think he's from, I think he went to Eastern High School.
Was he in a camp?
No, he was not in a camp.
Okay, so you're going to sign this guy who wasn't in the camp and just give him the nickel job?
They did that with Sue and Linval last year.
Yeah, I think defensive tackle is a little bit different than cornerback.
I'm just giving, look, this is not a particularly good group of slot cornerbacks that are available on the open market. Grant Haley, a Penn State guy, has some experience, but the reality is, no, there's no one that jumps out, and there's no one on the practice squad that jumps out. But slot cornerback is a position where veterans have been able to manage.
I think it would be a pretty bad sign if you keep 7 guys at cornerback entering the season, and the first sign of injury, you're going to sign guys off the street. Like,
okay, that's fair.
Trust your roster. Right? Like,
true. Now, a season-ending injury is different than a 4-week injury where you get by. But I see your point. Now,
I mean, you drafted Keely Ringo in the 4th round, right? Eli Ricks makes the team as an undrafted rookie. Now, Eli Ricks got 1 snap at nickel in this game. There was a play where Goodrich was off the field on a 3rd down. That was a good rep from Eli Ricks. So good to know that he is the backup nickel, just so we can check that box of knowing how the depth chart works. Go ahead.
I like an Eli Ricks.
Yeah, I mean, he's not from South Jersey, but I think that Eli Ricks has just as much of a chance of being good, if not a better chance right now than Logan Ryan coming in off the street.
Okay. I was just thinking of like you have this ready-made roster. If you're looking, I
No
did
doubt.
the thing.
No doubt.
I did the thing you do before shows when you look at all the free agents.
Sure.
And you say, here's someone who has safety slot experience. Okay. That it's almost like the Corey Graham role from 2017.
I think that now is the time for them to be a little bit patient here. This is the easier part of the schedule. You've got a full season ahead of you. Like let's give these guys in the cornerback incubator that they have. Let's give them a shot. Bradbury's going to be back, so there's only one spot you got to worry about. I think you probably give Goodrich the first chance. If that doesn't work out, then maybe you play around with Bradbury inside and Job on the outside. Maybe you give Ricks a shot. I don't really think that Ringo is suited to play the slot.
I agree.
But that's a possibility.
I like your idea from Friday.
Sidney Brown?
I do.
Well, it's interesting because in this game, when they do those 3 safety packages, Justin Evans is the guy who is covering the slot. And that
Which is what I said, yeah.
Right, but he gets crushed every single time. Like, he is not ready to do that, or is past ready, basically, because he's lost a step, I think. And I do think that, when you rewatch this game, I thought the safeties were, like, maybe more concerning than the linebackers. So, yeah, I do not want, Justin Evans as, like, the backup slot here. But I think you got to give these young guys who you thought were worth it, I think you got to give them a shot.
Agreed. If I can ask you one quick question here.
Always.
The Arizona Cardinals are going nowhere, right?
How dare you? No faith in your boy.
Buda Baker's.
What about their
I'm
head
asking
coach?
this because this is on the side of the screen.
Okay.
And fans, this is a point of curiosity from the fans. Buda Baker is someone that they renegotiated the contract with, but if Monty Ossenfort calls you and says, look,
Legally or illegally?
legally in this case,
Okay.
Buda could be available, right? I'm not giving him away. You do the old Howie Roseman thing.
Yeah,
We're
but if he's the one making the calls, then
Okay, the other way around.
Yeah.
Howie calls him.
Yeah.
Howie calls him. What's the price? What's the price for Buda? And Monty Ossenfort says, look, we're not giving it away, but I'm not hanging up the phone either. What's the highest you're offering?
How old is he? Like 28?
28 probably. Let me pull this up here.
I don't think I'm offering. I mean, is there like a trinket from the Novacare complex that Jonathan Gannon, is particularly fond of that he misses?
I don't think the cafeteria is particularly good in Arizona. So
that's true. Yeah, maybe you offer him the
ratings.
cafeteria staff, and Gannon says, "Let's do it."
He's 27 years old, Buda Baker.
And his contract is through.
So he's a January birthday, so he turns 28 in January. So he's
very Gladwellian of him. That's nice.
He's dealing with a little injury here. Buda Baker contract. Now he was inactive yesterday. I watched the Gannon press conference. Gannon said he got nicked up on Friday. They'll see how it goes. He signed.
Now they don't have a third, but I think a third is basically my line.
Okay. And you don't.
Assuming you're assuming you're getting him beyond this season.
What would the chat do? I'm curious.
What about you?
Yeah, I mean they don't have a third, but
right.
I would do it. I really like Buda Baker. I think he's also like a personality guy who he can grow with you. He can be a starter for a few years, but it's not a position where they traditionally pay. So let me see here. They gave him a $300K signing bonus and $2.4 million in possible incentives as kind of a sweetener to the deal. His 2024 salary is $14.2 million, non-guaranteed.
I don't know. I'd give up a fourth.
Okay.
That's probably about it. I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah.
I don't know. I also don't know that he solves that necessarily.
He plays in, and he can be a safety. He solves more safety, and then you can move Sidney Brown. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I don't know.
Okay.
It's not a perfect solution, but that's okay. Other notes, I do think that Fletcher Cox has had a really strong start to the season in terms of guys who we haven't talked about. Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter have been awesome. One thing that's interesting is we've seen, and I didn't pick up on this right away live, is some of those like different fronts that Desai and the defensive line are playing with. Like on the long touchdown to Jordan Addison, it's I believe it's Hassan Reddick off the right edge, and Hassan Reddick's spending a little bit more time over there than he did last season in my recollection. Barnett inside, Carter next to him, and then Fletcher Cox on the outside rushing from like left defensive end. That was and here's where I will give a tip of the cap to your boy the Melvin. That was a very nice play by Kirk Cousins stepping up in that pocket, putting Terrell Edmonds in a tough situation where he has to decide who to go to. No, you're not getting that. You're not getting that goose point.
He's not my boy. No, I'm saying Kirk Cousins is not my boy. Okay, I'll take all the Gannon shade you give me. I'm not owning Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
I
think he's your boy. Edmonds makes the wrong call there. I think he's got to stay deep, but still, I also saw there was another rep where it's Jalen Carter rushing from the edge. And Barnett inside again. So interesting just to see them mess around with that stuff up front. I thought the linebackers were about what you expected and what it looked like live from the TV copy. Nicholas Morrow's most effective use is just as a blitzer because it takes him out of the equation. And Zach Cunningham had a couple nice flash plays, but also was taken advantage of a few times over the middle of the field.
I thought Cunningham lived up to the name well.
You think that low of your own name?
I thought Cunningham
like a
played well
very mediocre performance is what you think Zach's are.
I thought he was above mediocre. I
did not think that he was.
I thought he was
mediocre.
Below outstanding, but above mediocre.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
Okay.
And I think that Christian Ellis should be on the field. I do. I will keep pounding the drum.
Oh, confirmation bias.
I think that he is the most interesting shot for upside there. And I don't think it's particularly close.
So two things here. First off, I'll give a tip of the figurative cap to Sean Desai. I think Sean Desai's shown creativity. I think the defense has been limited by personnel more so than by scheme. But I like what Sean Desai's been doing, and I'm curious and eager to kind of see how this defense evolves over the season. The other thing is, man, Jordan Davis is I'm impressed. I'm impressed live. I'm impressed watching it back. This is what we talked about is, okay, the size speed combination is already present. The athleticism is there. What happens when he can kind of refine and develop as a pass rusher? And we're seeing that. He's penetrating. He's in the quarterback's face. Kirk Cousins is probably not too thrilled seeing a 6'6", 350-pound Jordan Davis. He's much more imposing.
He did get away with, I think, a hit to the head on that one sack. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but man,
not the sack, the quarterback hit. But yeah,
if Jordan Davis is who they hope he could be, next to Jalen Carter, who I think they think he is, this is...
You're going like full Peter King here. Like things I think.
Things I think. Yeah. Well, first off, I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Anytime I can be compared to PK, I'll take it. But man, I'm really impressed with what we've seen with the early returns of Jordan Davis because we were hard on him last year. And I know it's 2 games, and I know it was only 17 snaps the other night, but there's a lot of reasons for optimism at this point.
And it totally changes like the upside of the defense and of the defensive line. If, as you said, it's not just Jalen Carter and Milton Williams who's taken a little bit of a leap and Fletcher Cox playing well, but if Jordan Davis is what he looks like through 2 games, then all of a sudden, arguably the best defensive line in the league again.
And they're actually getting more, I feel like, from their interior than from their edge.
Yes.
And
Hassan Reddick has had a very quiet first 2 weeks.
And Hassan Reddick had a quiet first 2 weeks last year, and then it all came out thereafter. So I wouldn't be worried about Hassan Reddick, and I do wonder how much the thumb injury is affecting him in terms of the grip. But Hassan Reddick, the sacks come in waves. I spoke to him about that last year quite a bit, and I think those waves will come. And
then as for Sweat, who had those 5 quarterback hits, I think we may be undersold just how impactful that one play was in the game. You can't just keep doing this. You can't take credit for everything. Joshua had a great game, but in terms of the flow of the game, the Vikings have the first possession of the second half down 3 points. They come out, and on the second play, Josh Sweat gets that sack, gets the ball out, and the Eagles go score a touchdown. And
Exactly.
that's the game. Like,
Yes.
That was when they won the game.
Close to a scoop and score there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I predicted was a scoop and score. I'm taking credit for that.
Okay. Wouldn't be the first time.
All right. Let's talk FOCO, Zach. Not quite pronounced like the way that never mind. FOCO is a leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise with a product line that includes apparel, accessories, toys, collectibles, novelty items, and more. Best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandoms. It's football and tailgating season. Overalls, hoodies, hats, sunglasses, bags, everything you need for a game. FOCO has hooked PHLY up and provided awesome pieces for our sets. Check out the stuff right behind Zach. FOCO always has our back for Philly sports, and they have yours too. Get the best gear around by using the link in our description. For all non-presale items, use the promo code PHLY for 10% off. While we have you, got to remind you to like, subscribe, all that good stuff on YouTube. Make sure you're hooking us up a little bit. What were we going to say, Zach? Go ahead.
Yeah, same thing. I appreciate all the comments on iTunes. Keep adding those. Love checking those out. And this is in podcast form as well. But like
brand
and
new
subscribe
feed,
on YouTube. Exactly, the PHLY Eagles Podcast.
All right, Zach. Let's do a little content corner here on PHLY. Did you read the Time magazine cover story on Jalen Hurts by Sean Gregory, friend of the Wolf family?
I did not realize that. That's a good pull right there. I did read it. I also read the essay from
I believe
Peyton
the
Manning.
second quarterback on the cover of Time magazine since Montana, I think.
Is that right?
Is that right? Yeah.
Okay, good company.
Anyway, go ahead.
I read that, and I read the essay by Peyton Manning as well.
Now, did you watch the video?
I did.
So, what were you interested in the 6 people that he chose to have dinner with?
I love that question.
You love that question?
Yeah, I love that question.
Yeah, and not quite as newsworthy an answer from Jalen Hurts as the Chip Kelly answer of having Anne Frank over for dinner. But what
is that Chip Kelly's answer?
Yes.
I like that. Okay.
But it was like a very weird, like, what are you going to be doing at this dinner, Chip? It was like, I don't remember the other people, but it was not the most sparkling conversation he was looking to. We broke him. We broke Zach.
All right. Well, I might have Chip on my list because I've
You
always
would
had
have Chip on your list?
Chip is a great conversationalist.
Of all the people in the history of the world, you're picking Chip Kelly for your...
I would not. I was making a joke. I would not have Chip on my list, but I would like to have dinner with Chip.
Would you like to give us the 6 that Jalen Hurts said? Can you remember them?
Barack Obama, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant.
Yes. I know you did a little fist bump when he started off with Michael Jordan. Like you've covered that. You've covered that beat very well.
Was that I was on that one early.
Yes.
Was Freddie Mercury on the list?
Freddie Mercury? What? Was Freddie Mercury on the list? Zach, did you see the other people he had on the list? Freddie Mercury? I think you're going for Frankie Beverly, who is decidedly not Freddie Mercury. If Jalen Hurts started with Freddie Mercury, that would have been very interesting.
That's who I meant.
I know it's who you meant, but Freddie Mercury. Oh, that's so good.
I'm clearly not a music guy, so yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so. I'm trying to remember who the 6th was, but it was a good group. Said he was going to serve him boiled crawfish. Don't spit that water on your computer, Zach. It's good. I'm glad we got our first full break here at PHLY. This is good.
Seriously,
break the seal. You know what's there's a weird thing that Jalen says where he's talking about how good he is at the the boiled crawfish. He's like, my grandmother loves it, my mom loves it, my dad loves it. My girlfriend really loves it. What are you trying to say, Jalen? Why do you have to give that inflection on the crawfish? What? everybody knows about oysters, but wait till you see Jalen's boiled crawfish.
If it works, it works.
I guess so.
Yeah, I watched the video. I read the essays. My takeaways were a little different than yours.
Okay.
I didn't have the same big takeaway from the crawfish note, but you are correct, right? I mean, yeah.
My girlfriend really loves it.
Yeah. Yeah. He's very proud of his crawfish.
He is. Yes.
So the article itself, I did not find it that surprising that he had not seen Barbie.
I think it wasn't that he hadn't seen it, but more that he hadn't even heard of Barbie.
Yeah, I mean, I understand you're writing to a general crowd, right? And so at that time, early August, Barbie and Oppenheimer were the big, that's probably appealing to the Time magazine crowd. I would not expect anyone in that locker room to probably have seen Barbie or Oppenheimer.
Oh, I disagree with that.
Really?
Yeah.
In order to see either one of them, you're going on your off day during training camp. How many players are going to the movies during training camp?
I bet a lot of them go to the maybe they haven't seen those movies, but I think some of them.
But those two,
but also just having
particular.
heard of Barbie is a different different cultural touchdown than have you gone to see Oppenheimer for 3 hours.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's a little bit interesting.
Yeah, that and then
not as interesting as wanting to have Freddie Mercury over with Muhammad Ali. But
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I conflated Freddie Mercury with who?
Frankie Beverly.
Frankie Beverly. Okay. Yes.
Starts with an F, ends in a Y. That's
probably so.
Okay.
Sorry about that. But I was most envious.
I like to imagine the look on Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and Muhammad Ali's faces with Barack Obama when Freddie Mercury walks in the room. Yeah.
I was most into the fact that he's calling Peyton Manning on the way to work, talking about red zone defenses. I mean,
what's interesting?
I'm kind of jealous of that.
He does voice notes. I thought that was interesting. It's not he's not leaving voicemails or texting. He's in the car doing a voice notes.
It's more efficient, right? You're in the car. You can't text.
I've never really done I've never been a big voice notes guy. You?
No, but I can certainly see it when you're driving. You're not texting, right? So you send the voice memo. I get that. Yeah.
Okay. Now, Zach, let's say that Time Magazine was doing a story on Zach Berman. Mm-hmm. PHLY and ALLCITY have just blown up. Mm-hmm. You are the new Peter King. You are the face of football content. And they want to know if you have a dinner party, Zach, who are the 4 people who are coming to your dinner party?
I need a little time to think about this one here.
Yeah, well, Jalen didn't have time to think about it. He had to answer it right away.
It would not be Freddie Mercury.
Okay.
Nor Frankie Beverly.
Okay.
Who would I go with? Try to think.
You want to think it over and come back tomorrow?
Yeah, I would take that. I mean, John Wooden probably won.
Okay.
Okay.
Teach you how to put your socks on. That's a big John Wooden thing.
Yes. Yeah. I know. Yeah. Let me circle back tomorrow because there's some good. I mean, Nelson Mandela.
Okay.
That'd be. Yeah. I'm
Nick
gonna circle
Saban?
back. What's that?
Nick Saban?
No, not Nick Saban.
No?
Not Nick Saban. Yeah. Nor Chip Kelly.
Jimmy King?
Jimmy King. No, but I
you
did
might
get
just pick the Fab Four, and then you could just sit there and be a fly on the wall.
Yeah. I'm gonna think about this one here. I'm gonna think about this one, and I'm gonna get back to you with 4 good names tomorrow.
All right. Well, that'll do it for this episode of the PHLY Eagles Podcast. We are back tomorrow at 11:30 live on our YouTube channel. Brian Baldinger going to join us for a little bit, and then we are 10 a.m. the rest of the week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Download on your podcast apps. Make sure you like and subscribe on the YouTube channel, and that'll do it. So, for Zach and Andrew and Freddie Mercury, we thank you for listening. We will talk to you tomorrow, and as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.